Hello YouTube, RJ. Hey, we're going to be continuing on working on the old HP 428B, doing some renovation to the aesthetics of the outside and finishing this project up. So the first thing I want to talk about is this is the case for the one that we brought back to life. And you might notice it wobbles a little. And the reason for that is this foot right here, where you see this foot right here is dented in. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe if I get up there. Yeah. Dented in, and I could probably beat that out from in here. You can see it's kind of messed up a little. If I get it to where you can see it in there, I might be able to beat that out. I'm sure I could, but in reality, I thought about it, and I had another unit that turned into parts, and it was in better shape. Didn't have the bent foot. Everything was just a little better, and so I decided to use it since I was going to repaint anyway. Another issue is the text in here. Now, this case didn't have this text. Apparently, the older ones, they didn't have this on here. Of course, they were hardwired. They had a cord that came out. This unit had this text, and I want this to be as original as can be. So, I want to make it look nice and repaint it. So the question was, what was going to do about that? Well, what I did about that was I went ahead and stenciled, took pictures of this, brought it into Paint Shop, matched up fonts, created exactly the same size, the same font, the same spacing, kern, everything, and created me some stencils to put this lettering back on when I'm done. So I've got stencils. I'll be able to, I should say silk screen. It's not stenciling, but I can silk screen the lettering back on. So that's good. So this one is going to go back on the blue one. This one is in better shape. So I've taped it up and went ahead and primed it. Got it really clean, scrubbed it down, took degreaser and Scotch-Brite pad and really scrubbed this thing down. Get it really down, get the top layer, gunk off the paint stuff. I left the original paint because I want this texture. I don't want it to be smooth paint. I want it to look like the original. So I went ahead and did that. And the idea was we were going to try to find spray paint that matched. We didn't have any luck. Everything we found was wrong. It was either really green and darker, or it was too brown. Nothing was really the right color. By the way, I went ahead and pulled the handle off of this one. That's the other reason. Another reason I use this case, this case, the handle bolted on. The other case, it was riveted on. So this is nice because I could take this off easy. So anyway, this is primed, ready to be painted. And what did I do about paint? Well, I went and had some paint mixed. And they shot it with a little gun. And they mixed me some paint, and you might think, man, he spent a lot of money. Well, it turned out, believe it or not, to get this quart, which is the smallest I could get, to get this quart was only twice the cost of a can of spray paint. So it was like buying 2 cans of spray paint. It wasn't that bad. So anyway, I've got paint, exact match. This guy went and found inside where there was some paint that hadn't been exposed to UV and stuff, and got got a little bit darker original color. Wasn't much difference, but you could tell from the outside it faded a little, and in there had been in out of the sun. I mean, out of the light, and it looked a lot better. So he shot that. He got me a perfect match. Looks great. Now what all I'm waiting on is, since I didn't get spray can, I've ordered a really inexpensive electric spray gun for like $29 off of Amazon. It's got great reviews. People claim it works great. I thought it might be a great thing for when I need to do these perfect matches on cases and stuff. I've been lucky and was able to, like with my VTVM for the Heath kit, I was able to find an exact match in the paint. I mean, it was so spot on, it was shocking. But you're not always going to be able to do that. So that'll be really handy, and it'll be handy around the house too. So anyway, I picked that up for 29 bucks. How can you go wrong? So anyway, when that comes in, I'll get this sprayed. As far as the handle's kind of rough. Thought about this a lot, did a lot of searching and hunting. I have a handle coming. It's very close as far as length and everything. It's a little tiny bit longer. I'm hoping that's going to be okay. I'm hoping that just means that it bends up a little like this in the middle. Kind of looks like this. I've got a brown one coming. I did find that they do make them in black, but the brown one's coming. Be here in probably a week or two. We'll take a look at it, and if I really decide I got to have a black one, I'll turn around and order a black one and wait on it. But I think the brown's going to look good. This is kind of in between My wife says she's got better color vision than me. She says this is not black, but it isn't brown either. It's kind of darkish brown. So I think that's going to be a little lighter brown than this. So we'll see how it looks. Got that coming. So we're moving along. Next, you'll see we'll get this thing spray painted. Right now, what I've got to do is I'm going to bring the unit over here, and I've got to get the ring around the front off. This ring also has to be painted. You can see up here, it's scraped up and missing paint. That's part of the reason I'm doing this. This has got to match. So we're going to spray paint it too. So I'm going to get this off, get it cleaned up good, get it primed. And that way, when the gun comes in, I'll be ready to spray all this. Hang tight. When I come back, I'll have some of this painted. We'll see what we think of it. Well, since I left you, I went ahead and cleaned all this up very well, primered it, had it taped up, took the tape off because I run over this with 1,000 grit sandpaper to knock some of the dust, when you primer. A lot of times you get that fine gritty dust that settles on the primer. I went ahead and knocked that down to where, all I've got is the texture of the original paint underneath left now. So I'm ready to paint. I'll get this painted, let the paint set up for a couple days just to be on the safe side. I'll stencil the lettering on the back. Hopefully the handle will show up and we can, cross fingers, hopefully it works out. We can get it on there. And if so, we can get this thing back together and we can finish this project up and see what this thing looks like, Okay, I wanted to introduce you to my little friend, as the movie said. This is my I think I paid $29 for it. Don't quote me on that. Could have been $39. $29.39. It was on sale. Very inexpensive airless sprayer. This thing actually worked very, very well. I hate to pull it out because I'm not going to pull it out. It was so hard to get back in this box. It looks just like what's in the picture. There's no reason to pull it out. What you see is what you get. It comes with a viscosity cup and a cleaning brushes and stuff like that. Part number here is, I think that's it right there, but part number here is X0049XW39L, and it's a paint sprayer. Comes with 4 different nozzles. Does it say that here? Easy to clean, 4 nozzles, 3 spray patterns, 30,000 RPM high performance motor, 1,400 milliliter large capacity container. As I said, I had paint mixed. Did run into one problem, which I'll show you in just a minute, but it was an easy fix. Had the color matched at one of the big box stores. Paint that I showed you earlier is, it's really for painting on the wall with a paintbrush in your house, but it says it works on metal. Does recommend you prime, which I did. I used a rattle can spray gray primer. Had to thin the paint out, obviously. Took quite a bit of thinning to work in this. You have the viscosity cup that you fill, and it's supposed to be so many seconds. Took about probably a 1/3 water to 2/3 paint mix to get it close, and I think I should have went a little more. Should have been a little thinner, but it worked good. I think if I was to do it again, I'd add a little more water. I think it would have sprayed a little better out of the gun, although it did quite good. So I sprayed it, and I only had one issue, and I'm going to come right back. Let me grab something, and I'll show you what the problem was. Okay, so here's the original cover, the beat up one with the bent foot. And to look at this, I would call this flat. It has no gloss to it for the most part. So when I got the paint, he wanted to know whether I wanted flat, satin, gloss, high gloss. I got flat, thinking that would be what would match this the best. And it turns out this has got a little bit of a satin sheen to it. It's not totally flat. I kind of forgot how flat really is. So after I sprayed it, the color was good, but it just didn't look right compared to this. It was just way too flat. But that was an easy fix. I just took some satin clear coat rattle can that I already had and put a coat of that over it, and it did fantastic. And of course, the other issue is, I made up silk screens because we had some text to replace once I painted it. So I got that done, and I'm happy with it. I'm going to show it to you now. Let me grab it. Let me show you how it turned out. Okay, and here is the finished product. I hope you like what you see. I think it turned out very, very well. I'm very happy with it. The text come out on the back. Everything is completely redone as if it's new. As I said, the handle's a little thicker than the original. Stands up a little higher because it's a little bit longer. It's the best I could do. I was going to have one made, but I was going to spend more than I had into the meter completely repaired to have a leather handle made. That just didn't make any sense. So I've got a nice, in good shape handle for it. I couldn't be happier. I hope you guys like how it turned out. I got the power cord and the probe off because you've seen those and they'd be in the way to rotate it. But yeah, it turned out good. Can't be happier with the the paint. Like I said, with that little one coat of satin clear over it, it gives it just enough sheen to look, to match up with the old case. Sits flat, doesn't wobble because the feet are good. Very happy with it. Works, as you've seen, works like new. Now it basically looks like new. So she's a keeper. Probably won't be here. We'll see. Probably be on my other shelves in my storage area for when I need it. You may see this in the future being used when I have those situations where I need to measure DC amperage and I don't want to cut the circuit, or I don't want to affect the circuit's function by having a meter in between the circuit. Let me pull this rascal out and use it. Hey, thanks for going on this very long ride. I know this was a lot of videos to get this thing, but as you saw, every one of them was packed with a lot of work. It took a lot to get one of these working. Little side note before I go, though, you might be wondering about the old one that you might be able to just barely see back there. Might be wondering, what am I going to do with that? Not going to be able to fix it and make it a working unit. Well, I had a thought about that. It's not worth anything. It's not, useful to anybody. I think I'm going to create a project for that. And my idea is this. Give me some feedback. What y'all think of this? I don't have a high voltage power supply, and I've looked at buying one a few times, and they're not cheap. And if you think about that, that thing's got everything you need for a high voltage power supply. And I don't think it would take that much to make a really nice high voltage power supply from that unit. You got the meter. We could make that be our meter. You've got a massive transformer in there that provides high voltage. You got rectification in there. Basically, I need a good regulator circuit. We can design and build that. And I've got a nice chassis and power switches and, capacitors. I think in the future, you may well see this come back to the bench. This old beast over here may come back to the bench and might just be converted into a high voltage power supply for the lab. Be watching for that one. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and maybe you learned a little about troubleshooting these old beasts in the process. Hey, but most of all, I hope to see you in the next video.